Okay, so have you ever heard of a political scene so intense it makes Game of Thrones look tame?
Oh, I can only imagine.
Well, we're talking about India in 1946, right before independence. The year leading up to it was wild, a total roller coaster.
Yeah, it's easy to think of 47 as this one big moment, but the whole year before was crazy.
Exactly. That's what we're diving into today.
Sounds exciting.
We're checking out this YouTube video, How British Left India, The History You Wouldn't Know, by Drew Vrothy.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
It's got so much stuff you won't find in textbooks.
Definitely.
Get ready to have some assumptions challenged, because we're uncovering all the power struggles, those unexpected twists, and, the human cost of it all.
It's a huge turning point in history.
All right, so picture this. It's 1946, right?
Yeah.
British Empire, they're done with World War II, and just won out of India.
Yeah, they were ready to move on.
But they're leaving behind this mix of provinces and princely states.
Right, and some of them were already trying out democracy because of the Government of India Act of 1935.
Oh, that's right.
But here's the thing. That act didn't just give some self-rule. It basically set the stage for all the drama that was about to go down.
Because of elections.
Yeah. Suddenly you've got elections, and they gave rise to two major players. You've got the Indian National Congress pushing for a united India.
Makes sense.
And on the other side, there's the Muslim League with, well, you know who.
Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
The one and only. And here's the crazy part. He wasn't always about a separate Muslim state.
Really? I thought he was all about Pakistan from the start.
Nope. Earlier on, he was actually all for Hindu-Muslim unity.
Huh. So what changed?
That's where things get interesting, right?
I'm all ears.
It wasn't just him flip-flopping, Those elections from the 35 Act had a huge impact. The Muslim League started winning a ton of Muslim seats.
So they were gaining power.
Big time. And this gave Jinnah more leverage for his demands, made a separate state seem more possible.
I see. It was like the perfect storm.
And that's when the British, desperate for a smooth exit, come up with a plan. The Cabinet Mission Plan.
Ah, the famous plan. Didn't that involve splitting India into 3 groups?
You got it. The British were trying to balance things out, keep a united India, while also dealing with those demands for a Muslim state. They wanted a loose federation, 3 groups based on religion, each with some autonomy.
Like a compromise. So did it work?
Well, Jinnah went for it, saw it as a step towards Pakistan.
But Congress wasn't thrilled, right?
No way. They were all about a truly united India, worried about losing power. And that difference, that fundamental disagreement, well, it just made everything so much worse.
Like everything was about to explode.
And then Nehru steps in and basically throws gasoline on the fire.
Oh yeah, wasn't there some comment he made to the press?
Totally off-the-cuff remark, hinting that Congress might change the Cabinet Mission Plan later on.
Just like that. Everything blew up.
It might seem crazy now, but you have to remember what was going on. Jinnah had felt ignored for years, so this little comment was a total betrayal to him.
Yeah, he felt like Congress was playing games.
Absolutely. So he did something pretty shocking, called for direct action.
What is direct action? That sounds scary.
Well, it was. Basically, Jinnah was saying if they didn't get Pakistan, the Muslim League would take things into their own hands. It was like a declaration of war, no more negotiating.
Oh, wow, that's intense.
And then, Direct Action Day, August 16th, 1946, a wave of violence, especially in Bengal. Calcutta became a nightmare. Thousands dead, injured, a city of corpses, I think I read somewhere.
It's hard to imagine.
It was a huge turning point. Any hope for a peaceful independence was gone.
It's devastating.
Yeah. And amidst all this, you see Gandhi and Nehru both wanting independence, but going about it in completely different ways.
So Nehru, he was trying to keep things together politically, right? Forming governments, negotiating.
Total political operator, yeah.
What about Gandhi?
Well, he did something radical. While Calcutta was still in chaos, he went straight to Noakhali, a place torn apart by violence.
He went right into the heart of the conflict.
That's Gandhi for you. He believed in leading by example, appealing to people's humanity, and he wasn't afraid of anything.
Brave man.
He even said something like, a leader reflects the people. Their desire to live together peacefully will be reflected by their leaders.
Powerful, right?
Absolutely. It shows that real change often starts with everyday people choosing peace.
Exactly. And that's the difference between Gandhi and Nehru, 2 paths trying to reach the same goal, independence.
2 paths, 1 goal.
But as the violence kept going, even those who really wanted a united India had to admit something.
That it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, partition was starting to look like the only option. The dream of a unified India was fading, and the reality of a divided subcontinent was setting in. And as everyone's realizing this, a new guy shows up. Lord Mountbatten, India's last viceroy. Can you imagine?
Stepping into that role. Yikes. Talk about pressure. So what'd he do? Did he have a plan to fix this mess?
Well, at first he was still hoping for a united India, even tried to pitch that to Jinnah.
And how'd that go? Oh, Jinnah wasn't having it. No way. At this point, he was all in on Pakistan. Nothing else would do.
So what about Nehru and Patel? They were so against partition.
It's interesting, right? They had seen what direct action did, how the Muslim League was acting in the government.
They were starting to see partition as the only way to stop the violence.
It was a tough choice, for sure, especially for those who had fought for a united India. But governing was becoming impossible. Things were falling apart.
And don't forget all the people suffering. The source really makes that clear. While all this political stuff is happening, millions are caught in the middle.
Absolutely. The human cost was huge.
So Congress is reluctantly agreeing to partition. And then Mountbatten makes his move, right? The Dicky Bird plan?
That's the one. But get this, he adds something that totally throws everyone off.
Okay, I gotta know, what did he do?
He basically says each province can choose independence, join India, or join Pakistan.
Wait, so not just India or Pakistan, but like a bunch of little independent states. That sounds chaotic.
Can you imagine Nehru's reaction? He was furious. He called it Balkanization. Like, India would break apart into these tiny warring states.
Balkanization, wow.
Think of the Balkan Peninsula in Europe, always fighting.
So Nehru was afraid of that happening in India.
Exactly. And remember those princely states? If each one went their own way, it would have been a disaster.
So Mountbatten's plan totally backfired.
You would say that, but to be fair, he tried to fix it. He turns to this guy, VP Menon, a civil servant who knew everything about Indian politics.
Like a fixer. What did he come up with?
This is wild. He writes a whole new partition plan in 6 hours.
6 hours? No way. So was it better?
Way better. Much simpler. 2 independent countries, India and Pakistan, provinces split based on who they voted for.
No more mini nations.
Nope. Clear and decisive, and it stopped Nehru from worrying about, Balkanization.
What about those princely states? Did they have any say?
They were hoping to stay independent, avoid picking sides.
But Mountbatten shut that down, didn't he?
He did. He said they had to choose based on where they were geographically. Geographic contiguity, I think he called it.
So no more princely independence, had to join one of the new countries or else.
Pretty much. And by June of 47, they knew their dream of staying independent was over.
So this new plan, the one made in 6 hours, is the one that finally worked.
Yep. On June 3rd, it's presented and everyone agrees. Nehru, Patel, Jinnah, the whole game.
But even with everyone on board, it couldn't have been a happy moment. Whole country being split in two.
No, definitely not a celebration, more like a sad acceptance. And looming over everything was the big question. How do we actually do this partition?
Yeah, drawing lines on a map is one thing, but moving millions of people, dividing communities, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Millions of people uprooted, leaving their homes, everything uncertain. It's hard to even imagine.
And that's what often gets forgotten, in all the talk about politics and independence, the individual stories. The source really brings those tragedies to life.
It's crazy to think, while Nehru's giving his famous Tryst with Destiny speech, all these families are dealing with the reality of partition.
It's a stark contrast. And this is where the source points out something interesting about Sardar Patel.
Patel, yeah, he was a big deal in Congress, but I don't know much about him compared to like Nehru or Gandhi.
He doesn't always get the same attention, but he did so much, especially after partition. He took on this huge task of integrating all those princely states into India.
So this is where it all comes back to Mountbatten, forcing those states to choose a side.
Exactly. And Patel made it happen. He used diplomacy, pressure, even a bit of what they call realpolitik.
Realpolitik sounds kind of intense.
It's basically putting practical stuff and strategy above ideals or ethics. Getting things done, even if it means tough choices.
So Patel was focused on the big picture, keeping India stable and united, even if he had to play hardball.
That's it. And he pulled it off. He kept India from breaking apart even more. Pretty amazing when you think about it.
Wow, Patel was really crucial in shaping India, it sounds like. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the big takeaways for you?
For me, it's that India's independence wasn't this perfect moment, It was messy, full of challenges, compromises. And yeah, a lot of sadness.
And those different approaches, like Gandhi and Nehru, it shows there were different ideas even within the movement itself about what a free India should be.
And the source makes it clear that the roots of partition go way back, long before 47. Those tensions, the political shifts, everything played a role.
It makes you wonder, could they have avoided partition, knowing what we know now?
That's the big question historians still debate. Was it the only option in such a volatile situation?
Tough question. No easy answers. And I think our dive today gave us a better understanding of that debate, all the factors that led to this huge, tragic event.
It definitely goes beyond the simple stories, makes you think about the human cost alongside the political victories.
And if you want to learn more, the source recommends a web series, Freedom at Midnight, based on the book. Great place to start if you're interested in this part of history.
It's a story that still matters today, a reminder of the legacy of this time, the good and the bad.
So we leave you with that question, could they have avoided partition? Something to think about as you explore this history, because what happened back then still affects the region today.